Hi New Year One families, it's Mrs Neville here, and I thought it would be useful if I made this short video just to introduce you to life in Year One and to talk you through some of the routines so that you and your children feel confident coming in September. So I have done a PowerPoint presentation which I will just share with you now. I'll just put it on full screen so you can see it. As I say, I'm Mrs Neville, and I know some of your families already, having taught older children who've come through the school, and I look forward to meeting the rest of you properly in September. With me in Year One, we're very lucky in September we're going to have two teaching assistants with us, Mrs Broughton and Mrs Taylor, and they are both very experienced teaching assistants and have worked previously in Year One with me, so it's a really nice strong team to support your children as they come up from reception. And really one of our main things in Year One is to support the children to become more independent in their learning, to get them ready for their journey on into Year Two, which at the moment seems a long way away, but it does come around fairly quickly. So we need to build effective partnerships, not only with your children, but also with you as parents and carers, to make sure that the children have as successful a year as possible when they're with us in Year One. So we will, as I say, be encouraging those skills of independent learning, but very much within a supportive and supporting environment, just as the children have had with Mrs Appleby and her team this year in Year R. I'll talk a little bit more later in the video about our learning themes, but one thing that we work quite hard on is to make sure that our learning themes provide very rich cross-curricular learning so that the children can make those links and make sense of their learning across the curriculum. So it might be that we're doing something in literacy, but we also pick up on that in art. It might be that we've got a science learning theme going on, but it's also got things to do with geography in it, and we might do some PE as well. So across the curriculum, over those weeks of our topic, we try to make sure that our learning is really meaningful and rich so that the children enjoy it and are really engaged in it. So I'll just talk you through a few of the sort of actual day-to-day routines, because hopefully that will help as well. So one thing that does feel a little bit strange, but the children do get used to it very quickly, is you've probably seen this year as your children have been walking around to the gate where they meet Mrs Appleby, the Year One children actually say goodbye to parents and carers at the top of the ramp. And I've got some pictures on this slide here just to show you. So it's on the small playground. Mr Hannah or Mr Neves or another member of staff is always at the top of the ramp to welcome the children. They'll say goodbye to you on that small playground. They'll then walk down and round the ramp, past the reception classroom wall and through our outdoor area. And they come through the door at the back there into the corridor that's outside the Year One classroom. And that's where all of our coat pegs are. So for the first sort of few days of September, that can feel quite a big thing, because obviously they're not used to leaving you and walking down somewhere by themselves. But I've been really impressed over the last few years how quickly the children get used to that routine, and they come in very sensibly. And again, it helps to build that sort of skill of independence, getting themselves ready with their book bag, water bottle, coat, whatever else they need, and making their way into school to prepare for learning. When they do come into the corridor, they will find our cloakroom area, and we have our coat pegs set up in alphabetical order by first name, so that the children, they have the same coat pegs actually as they have had in reception with Mrs Appleby, so they will recognise the picture on their own coat peg, and they'll soon get used to the order and where their coat peg is. Obviously that's then where they put their PE bag, any coats, hats, lunch boxes are going to go underneath that, so they just put their things away first thing in the morning. On the other side of the corridor there, we also have our book bag boxes, and if your child wants to bring in a fruit snack from home, that goes in our fruit snack box, which is, as you can see, on top of where our book boxes are. Obviously we will still have free fruit in Key Stage 1, so your child doesn't have to bring a fruit snack for playtime. There will be one available from school if they would like it. And just another point on this slide that you can see there are different colours on the different boxes there. And in year one, I know in year R, Mrs. Appleby has had animal groupings. In year one, we have colour groupings. And it really is just to tell your child where to put their book bag and where to put their water bottle. So during the first week in September, your child will probably come home and say, I'm in blue group or I'm in orange group, and all that means is that it's really just a sort of practical note for them that they know then where their book bag is going to be, they know which box it's in, and they know how to find it easily. So when they come in the morning, these boxes are out on the ground and they'll slot their book bags in. If I could also ask that we don't have lots of big key rings and things on the sides of book bags, because it then stops them from fitting in the box. So it's just really nice if they just bring the book bag as it is, slot that in, and they will then go wash their hands. So I've got a nice picture here of the year one toilets, but they are just across the corridor from the classroom. Obviously the children are able to ask at any time of the day if they need the toilet, and they just walk across the corridor. It's just a couple of steps into the year one toilets. We've got 2 toilets and 2 sinks. But first thing in the morning, as part of our routine, when the children have put their bags away and put their book bags away, put their things on their pegs, then it's washing hands before they come into the classroom. Then when they get into the classroom, again, they'll see their colour tray here, and that's where they're going to put their water bottle down. So once they've done that, they're kind of ready for the day. And there's always a task out. It might be sharing a book with a friend. It might be a task that's on the whiteboard and they get a mini whiteboard to do. It might be some funky finger activities like Mrs. Appleby has done. So there's always a task for them to get on with when they first arrive in the classroom. What a lot of children like to do is come and have a look at the board by my desk, because we have a map of the day up, which then details for them what is going to be coming up in that day. So a lot of the children find that quite reassuring, and they can see if it's one of their favourite subjects coming up. Generally, it tends to be often writing, literacy and maths in the morning, as well as phonics and other activities in the afternoon. But it just depends. As you can see on this map of the day, there's a gymnastics in the morning. So PE slots do vary as well. So it just helps the children to have a look, prepare themselves for what's coming up on that day, and then get on with their early morning task. So on this slide, I just wanted to show you a few pictures of what the classroom looks like. Obviously, over the summer, I will be changing things around a bit, as I do every year, but it gives you a flavour for what the class is like. We do have desks or tables with everybody having a chair at a table, which I know is something slightly different from year R. But what that means is in year one, when the children come in the morning, they will always come to the same place. So they will have a home table, we call it, or a home space, and they will go and sit there to do their early morning task. Then at the end of the day, when we get our home time things ready for going home, they will sit back in that same space. For much of the rest of the day, they'll be working at different tables, on the carpet and in different areas. So it really is just for the beginning and end of the day, just to help your child again know where they are and feel confident with what they're doing. So we do have, as I say, tables around. We also have a carpet space where obviously we do a lot of work when it's teacher-led, so the teacher inputs happen on the carpet. Often we'll be looking at something together on the whiteboard or doing something practical at the front of the class before we then go off and do work in smaller groups. You'll be pleased to know, and I'm sure your children will be thrilled to know, as I've told them on transition morning, especially in the first half term, in the autumn term, we run our days very similar to the ones in year R, where the children will work with an adult on a particular learning task, but there will also be time for them to do child initiated learning, as we will call it, similarly to Mrs. Appleby, discovery time. So this is when the children can choose their own own learning and what they would like to do. So as you can see, there's a range of activities that they can choose, whether it might be building something or making something out of blocks or Lego or Duplo. We have lovely mosaic tiles that the children enjoy pattern making and building out of. There are other construction things and train tracks, as well as phonics games, maths games that they can play together in groups. There's a whole range of different activities. Coupled with that as well, there'll be a chance for the children to spend time in our outside area on learning activities as well, imaginative play, sand and water play, learning in all of those different ways and building their collaboration, teamwork and social skills, as well as doing the more academic learning as well. So it looks very similar. We try to build that in that transition time from year R into year 1 to make it familiar, to make the children feel confident with what's going on. Just flipping now to the end of the day, just so that you know, on a practical note for going home, some of you have probably seen already, but the children leave year 1 through the outside classroom door. They will walk across the year R outside area and they will come out through the same gate that they're used to coming out to you this year as well. So you will just move up a few paces to be opposite my door, so that all the new year R parents and carers can stand outside the gate there where you've been this year, and your child will still come out of that gate and find you. So it works in very much the same way. I'm going to be looking over the fence to see who's here. I will call the children one at a time when I see that their parent or carer is there, and they will then make their way out to you. But that's just on a practical note, so you know what happens at the end of the day. So just to give you a flavour in the autumn term, our learning themes that I mentioned earlier, we start off with a weather wizardry learning theme, which is all about science and geography. We look at weather around the world, weather patterns, weather forecasts, and we look at our seasons in the UK and how that is different in different areas of the world as well. So it's a nice practical one, which the children really love. And then in the second half of the autumn term, we go onto a history-led topic or theme called Toy Story, where we look at and compare the difference between toys when grandparents were alive as little children and toys that we have now. So how are those toys that our grandparents and great-grandparents maybe played with, and our toys, how are they the same and how are they different? And we look back at the history within living memory. In terms of other routines that I thought it would be useful to tell you about, reading books is going to work in exactly the same way as it has in year R. We've moved on the Twinkle book scheme, so that your child will still have one book a week to take home. We change our books on a Friday, and I believe in September that's going to carry on. So yeah, your child will get a new book to read on the Friday. They can have that obviously over the weekend and into the next week, and then the following Friday we swap over the books and change. Also on a Friday, with their new book, the children will bring home a phonics activity sheet, I'm sure similarly to that you've had this year with Mrs. Appleby, and that just details what the sound, the focus sound or sounds are that we have been learning during the week, so that there's a little activity for your children to do just to recap and consolidate their learning, and also so that you as parents and carers know what we've been learning about that week. That's an activity sheet that goes home. It's for you to have at home. I don't need to take it back in or mark it as such. That's for you to keep at home as a record, and to go back over with your child. And along with that, they will have a sound flashcard or flashcards, depending on how many sounds we learn. Usually it's one sound a week, but there's sometimes where it's 2 sounds a week. And also they will have 2 tricky word cards, and these are common exception words that will also come home. So we will have done them in class and started to get used to reading them, and you will then have them at home to build up over time that repertoire of different sounds and different tricky words that the children know. Show and tell, I'm not sure how Mrs. Appleby does her show and tell, but in here on a Friday afternoon, we do it on a colour group basis. So week by week, each week there'll be a different colour group, and the children will have an opportunity. If they would like to bring something in for show and tell, they can do. They don't have to. Nobody, of course, will be forced to do show and tell, but if they want to share something with the class, something interesting, maybe a trip that they've done at home, something linked to our learning theme, that would be really nice. So I will send home a show and tell rota at the beginning of the autumn term, and then your child, once they know their colour group, will be able to know when their chance is to do their show and tell. It usually works out that every half term, each group gets a turn at doing show and tell. PE I can't tell you yet which days our PE lessons will be on, but we will have 2 each week. It's really helpful if the children can bring their PE kits into school on a Monday and leave them till the Friday, because sometimes we do have to swap round our sessions, but those will take place twice a week in September. And lots more information about all of these sorts of routines will be given out on the curriculum letter, which will go home very early in the autumn term. But I just wanted to give you a flavour of a few things now, just to sort of set your mind at rest about it. Getting back to being within the Year 1 classroom, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the displays that we have around the classroom. So as we're doing new topics, new units in literacy and maths, we put up information about those on our working walls. So these working walls are walls that the children will look to give them a little bit of extra help, or a reminder of something that we've done to help them to access the work that we're doing on a particular unit. Also, that might happen in other subjects. So at the moment, we're doing a science unit all about animal groupings and what animals eat. So we've got information that the children will find useful, and key things that they need to remember, key vocabulary, key words, and key concepts that they might forget, but they know they can look at that wall in order to help them with their learning. So we do have working walls up in the classroom, and also specific other support displays, if you like, for both maths and phonics. So with our maths displays, we've got our 100 squares. So we're starting to work with slightly larger numbers in Year 1. Also, the children need to be able to spell numbers as well. So we have a display where they know they can look. If they're needing to write a number down, they can look to see how it's spelt. And we also have, as the year progresses and we start to count in multiples of 2, 5 and 10, which is obviously the building blocks for then going into learning times tables, which happens at the very end of Year 1, but mainly in Year 2. But we have our rockets and balloons and stars up to help us to get used to those patterns of counting in 2s, 5s and 10s. And then for phonics, along with the Twinkle scheme, as Mrs. Appleby has in reception, we have all of the digraphs and trigraphs that we will be learning in Year 1 up around the classroom, so they're always there for the children to look at. And it was really nice on transition morning, lots of the children already spotted, oh, we've got those ones up in our classroom, or those ones are different. And I explained that we build on what they've done with Mrs. Appleby, which is great. We've also got an alphabet up around the room to help the children with letter formation. And we also have our Sound of the Week board at the front next to my desk and the whiteboard, where we record and gather words that have that particular spelling of a particular sound in them. So whether that's the A sound or the your sound, or whatever it might be. So yeah, it's all there to help to support the children with their learning as they go through each week. But also displays are there to very much celebrate the children's work. So it's just a flavour of a few art displays that have gone up this year, but really nice for the children to see their work on display and to see that it is really valued and that each child has their work up on display. So it's a really nice opportunity with our display to celebrate the children's work and successes. We're coming towards the end of my talk now, and here is a picture of our Aspire, Respect and Enjoy tree. These are our key core learning values at Jessie, and what is really nice in September for me to put up our leaves on the tree, one leaf for each child with their name on it, as they sort of say, yes, I'm going to really try my hardest this year. I'm going to show respect for people and I'm going to enjoy my learning. And we all kind of commit to that together as a class in September and fill our learning tree with all of our lovely leaves. And I think that's really what Year One is about. It's really about helping your children to aspire to do their very best, to build those skills of showing respect to each other, to adults, so that they can work really well together, and above all, to really enjoy their time in Year One. So that was the last slide on my PowerPoint, so I will stop sharing now and come back to me. And just to say, I hope this has been useful. I hope it's answers some of your questions. Please do, let me know if there's anything that I can help you with before the end of the summer term. And really looking forward to working with you all in September with your children, and hope that we have a really successful and really happy year together. I'm sure we will. So just before I say goodbye, I wish you all a very happy summer, and yes, look forward to seeing you in September. Thank you. Bye. Bye.